Hi, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Me, You, and Who. Today, I am joined by Meg, a member of Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, and specifically, she is part of the surrogate education and matching team. She brings a unique perspective as both a surrogate and an advocate for others on this journey. You'll get to know the experiences that shaped Meg's passion for surrogacy, from the emotional highs of matching with intended parents to the challenges she's witnessed along the way. Whether you're a prospective surrogate, an intended parent, or simply curious about the surrogacy process, we hope this conversation will help you feel more confident in the care and support you'll find here at Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions. So grab that cup of coffee, settle into the commute, and meet Meg. Me, you, and who? Who knew it would take more than two people to have a baby? In a world where infertility is no longer a taboo topic, this podcast will take you through all of the different aspects of surrogacy and egg donation through the lens of many who walk this journey in different ways. My name is Whitney Hall, and I am a two-time surrogate, now turned surrogacy coordinator for Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, the very agency I used when I chose to carry for two amazing families. With this podcast, it is our goal to help guide and support you as you learn about what it takes to grow a family in an alternative way, as well as hear inspiring and beautiful stories of how this path has changed lives forever. We can't wait for you to hear about just one more way happy families are created every day. Hi, Meg.
Hello, my friend.
I'm so excited you and I get to chit chat.
I know, like we do all the time.
We do it all the time, and now everyone gets to listen to us chit chat. But I'm usually whenever you and I are chit chatting, we're doing all of the work things. But now we get to do like a dig into the life of like who you are, which is so fun and so exciting. So, okay, you are a team member with Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, but how did you even get into just the world that is third-party reproduction?
Yeah. It's been a long time.
Yeah.
Yes. So gosh, I think it was 2012. And my husband and I had also gone through infertility. And so it was, meaningful to me, special to me, all of that. We had been blessed with twin boys after all of that. And then I was watching a TV show, so random, but there was a show on TLC called The Little Couple. And
I remember them. They lived in Houston. Shout out. Yes.
The doctor. Anyway, but they needed to use a surrogate.
Yeah.
And so it kind of showed the story of them meeting their surrogate for the first time, and them going to transfer in California together, and her telling them that they were pregnant. And so I remember when her telling them, like, you're going to have a baby, and getting all teary-eyed. And I just thought, that is so cool. Like, I would love to do that. Like, can I do that? And so I got off and I just started Googling. And, how to be a surrogate, how to whatever. And
sure, as every good thing starts out, we go to the Google. Yes.
Yeah, a lot of it on Google was kind of scary. And remember, this was all 12 years ago, and so much in the world has changed too. PGS testing wasn't really a thing then. And anyway, so much has changed. So started Googling, kind of, struck a chord in me and didn't get super far with it. But then, I don't know, maybe 6 months later, Gail Garrett moved to Waco, where I live, and joined our church. And so,
which for those of you who don't know, Gail was the founder of Surrogate Solutions.
Yep.
Yeah.
So the founder of Surrogate Solutions. So she moved to Waco, and someone said, have you met Gail? She owns a surrogacy agency. And I was like, what? And so, so I met her and we went out to lunch, and she told me all about it. And I was like, I'm on board. And I talked to Shane about it, my husband, and I thought he would be like, you're crazy. So that was going to be my no. And instead he was like, that's amazing. I can totally see you doing that. And he said, here's the only thing. I was a stay-at-home mom of 3 littles at the time. And so finances were a little bit tight. And he was like, we can't pay for it. And we were just afraid we were going to have to pay for it. We were afraid we were going to pay for like a lot of the process. And
Oh
so,
my
yeah,
gosh.
yeah. So he was just letting me know, like, yes, you can do it, but like, we can't pay for it. Didn't know what we were going to have to pay for. And so as I talked to him about it, he's like, sweetie, like no, you're not
You
going to
don't
pay
pay for
for it. Yeah, you're not
anything.
gonna get compensation. And I was like, what? So anyway, yeah. So yeah, we went from there. I carried twin girls in that journey, met a family that
Mm.
didn't live too far from us and carried twin girls that were born in 2013. And then I started working for Egg Donor Solutions. This is before the merge. So started working for Egg Donor Solutions in 2016, and
Yeah.
then decided I had one more surrogacy journey in me, and carried baby boy born in 2017. And then after kind of the merge, I stepped from the egg donation team to the surrogacy team in 2020. So I've been with Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions for almost 9 years, and on the surrogacy team for about 5 years.
Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. First of all, I think it is just, it speaks so much to your character that you were inspired to be a surrogate, thinking that you were not only providing this amazing gift of carrying a child, but that you were going to shoulder the financial aspect of it and having no idea that there was even base compensation or anything like that. I mean, oh my gosh, just that is, I mean, true, honestly, I say, like, it doesn't surprise me in the slightest, actually, like, at
Oh,
all.
that's really kind. Well, I think just because we had been there, and if someone could have stepped in
Yeah.
and done that for me, anyway, yeah. So I just thought if I could, just help someone going through infertility, like I would love to. But of course, the compensation was and is a blessing, and I
Of
would not
course.
encourage anyone to do it without being compensated. But yeah,
Right, absolutely. No, for sure. For sure. Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, I love that.
yeah,
So, okay, you gave us that gorgeous timeline. You had your first surrogacy journey, and then you like dove deeper into the world
yeah,
of just third party reproduction,
yeah,
and that's whenever you started at at the time it was just Egg Donor Solutions, and so you were part of egg donation cycles
yeah,
and
correct,
girls that were donating their eggs and intended
correct,
parents needing to use eggs to
yeah,
grow their family. So you
yeah,
really have seen just all sides of this
yeah.
world.
Yeah, I feel like I have. I feel like I have. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes. And just what a wealth of knowledge you have. No, that's fantastic.
Mhm.
Looking back, like let's go back to your journeys just a little bit. Like looking back on your
Mhm.
surrogacy experience, what
Yeah.
would you say is maybe like just some of those like just major, like a major memorable
Yeah.
moment?
Yeah. I always think heartbeat confirmation is,
Oh
um,
yes.
in both of my cases, they were first time parents, and
Mm,
obviously who had been through so many hard things
yeah.
before. And, just remembering that people don't come to surrogacy except for, of course, same sex dads. They know they're going to need a surrogate, so their journey's a little bit different. But um, otherwise, people don't come to surrogacy right off. No one is like, hey,
Sure.
we want to start our family, let's get a surrogate.
Yeah.
And so I think just remembering that they come here with their own journeys of pain and disappointment and loss. And so we might feel super joyful as surrogates all the time, just remembering the baggage that they bring along. And so their emotions might look different than ours. When we're ecstatic, they
Yeah.
still may be terrified, or when we are can't wait to tell them the baby is kicking. Mom might be jealous that, it's not her baby kicking. So I
Or
think,
not her pregnancy that she's carrying.
right,
Yeah.
not
Right.
she is not feeling the baby kick, but rather it
Yeah.
is someone else feeling the baby kick. I'm not really answering your direct question very well, but I said heartbeat
No,
confirmation.
you
Yes, it's
are. No.
heartbeat confirmation, just because they were both first time parents and they never gotten that far,
Yeah.
and they had never seen their baby's heartbeat before. And so remembering that
Mm,
both times, and just and we can remember just as moms the first time we heard our own
yeah.
baby's heartbeat. It's a magical moment, but even more magical for I think parents who had never gotten to that point, and all of a sudden they had so much hope, or they had not had that hope before. So that first journey, of course, they found two heartbeats, which was even wilder and crazier. And all of a sudden, they're envisioning their life
Yeah.
babies. But even that second time, it was a couple that had struggled for, a really, really long time. And so the joy that filled the room at that time, I think about that.
Mm.
I think about finding out that the twins were girls. That was pre PGS testing, so they didn't
Oh,
know
sure.
the gender of those babies. And that was also pre like maternity 21 or those early blood tests that would tell you the gender. So that was
Sure.
back when you didn't find out gender till really that 20-week.
That anatomy scan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so doing that, and dad didn't want to know. So he stepped out of the room, but mom did. So she stayed in with me. And then she had brought onesies, pink and blue onesies, and put 2 onesies in a bag. And then my husband and
Oh,
I, and both of them went out to lunch. And then he, opened the bag and found out he had 2 daughters, and just being all at lunch together. And of course, I'm hormonal and remembering when it was us, finding out what our twins were, and just, all just weeping and so excited. So about
yeah.
that.
Well, just, I mean, seeing and being a part of those moments and getting
Yeah,
to be the reason that they get to have that joy, I
yeah,
mean, really
yeah,
emphasizes just
yeah,
that why behind
yeah.
doing something like
Totally the
this.
why. It's totally the why.
Yeah,
Obviously, always delivery day. I mean, delivery day is the culmination of all of it. You never
of
forget
course.
them meeting their baby or babies for the first time, and you never forget,
Oh, it's the best.
I told my most recent IM it was time to push, and they had been through so much, and my own journey with infertility just always plays a role in everything I do. And so they were getting the room set up, and I was like, it's fixing, you're fixing to meet your son. And I was like, it's all fixing to be worth it. Every loss, all the pain, all the no's, all the everything, like it's all gonna make
Oh,
sense when you see,
Meg.
yeah, when you see your baby boy, it's gonna make sense. And so we were both crying, and then of course she met him, and it all made sense, and she knew he was the one that she was supposed to have the whole time. And she was
Oh,
able to be grateful for the no's and the you're not pregnant this month and all of that, because it brought her this baby, and this was the baby that she was
yeah.
supposed to have. So I'll never forget that.
Oh, for sure. Going back to, kind of what you said of, just for for heterosexual couples that are
Yeah,
going through this process,
yeah,
a lot of times, like you said, they've already had a journey prior to even getting here. And we're
yeah,
not necessarily the first.
yeah. Stop
We're
on the
usually,
family, yeah, family
yeah, we're
building.
usually a last resort whenever we're building a family.
Absolutely.
And did you when you were going through your first journey, was that a surprise to you? Like wanting
Um,
to experience that joy with them?
I don't think it was a surprise. For a couple of reasons. One, I'm a social worker by trade. Like that's
Yeah.
my history
Your background,
yeah,
yeah.
is that of a social worker. So I think I knew enough about grief and loss and all of that to kind of understand that they weren't coming into it, from the same angle that I would have been, having my own first biological child. But then just having gone through infertility myself, I also knew that like, a heartbeat confirmation didn't mean a live baby in the end, that,
Sure.
you can miscarry a baby, you can lose a baby, all of that. And so I think I understood it to an extent, but then I remember pretty early on asking that intended mom, being like, hey, I am an open book, and I am thrilled to tell you everything I'm experiencing, what I'm craving when the baby's kicking. I'm thrilled, to let you feel the baby kick, to tell you
Yeah.
all the things. I am thrilled to involve you in all of this. And I also understand that might cause some pain, or that might cause
Mm,
emotions that might be uncomfortable for you. And so I want you to guide me in this, and you to let me know, like, tell me everything, or I'm not quite ready yet, or I want you to kind of let me know. And
yeah.
she was like, no, I want to know everything. Absolutely. Tell me everything. But
Sure.
still, I think us being sensitive and particularly its intended moms, of course, they're the ones not carrying their baby. So I think it's important for a surrogate to be sensitive in that. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Well, and again, just, being aware that like there was a journey before this journey.
Right.
And exactly like you said,
Yeah.
thinking about those questions, and
Yeah.
and that's one of the just one of the great things about, I feel like, us as an agency and our education and matching team
Yeah.
is we do touch on
Yeah.
those things
Yeah.
and as you're going through the process.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, you like you said, you started at Egg Donor Solutions
Yep.
on when just way back in the day.
Yeah.
There was a merge, we became
Yeah.
Egg Donor and Surrogate Solutions, and then you started on the surrogacy program,
Yeah.
and you are part of the education and matching teams. So
Yeah.
what do you love most about just the
Yeah.
process?
I love that I get to talk to all the girls. It feels
Yeah.
fun. I've been a coordinator as well, which I also loved doing. But of course, as a coordinator, you only know your, 30 girls or whatever. And so
Right.
I think it's fun to know and be invested in all of them. We have a private Facebook group for our surrogates. And so we get excited for every single one when they get pregnant because
Yes.
we remember them and we remember their story and their excitement about being matched and all of that. So I think it's fun because you feel a personal connection to each and every surrogate when you're the one that gets to meet them and talk with them. So I love that part. I just love
Yeah.
educating them. There is so much that most people don't know. And so
Mm-hmm.
I like to make sure that they feel like their questions were answered. And I like to make sure they feel, that they've got an honest overview of the process and we're not sugarcoating things just to it's a bait and switch, like make it sound fabulous, and then once they're matched it's so much harder than they ever anticipated or whatever. So
Sure.
I like, I not pride myself, pride us as an agency, I think, in just providing comprehensive education, not just the good parts but the parts that might not be so good as well. So yeah, I like doing that. I love when it's time for matching. And finally, I feel like almost everyone, not a surprise, but when we share intended parent profiles with them, and then they get to learn about the intended parents and read their stories and read their journeys and see
Yeah.
their pictures, and I feel like it almost always surprises them. It just becomes so real, and it just always
Yeah.
becomes like, oh my gosh, I want to carry for all of these people. I didn't realize there were so many of these amazing families who need my help. And so I love when they start looking through profiles and getting excited. It becomes real to them. And I love facilitating match meetings, which is when the intended parents and the circuit and her significant other, if she has one, where they all meet and we get to know each other and, make sure it feels like a good fit.
Yeah.
So I love match meetings. They usually go great. And it's so fun to meet each other and talk to each other. And I think it's when it starts feeling real for the intended parents too. And when their hope
Yeah.
kind of starts to bubble up and like, I think this is her and they're getting along really well. And I'm getting really excited that, hopefully this part of their dream is being realized. And so I love facilitating match meetings. So yeah,
Oh yeah.
I
It's,
get
I
to do a
mean,
lot of exciting stuff. Yeah.
yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Absolutely. I think I think you touched on something, I couldn't agree with you more. I feel like one of the things that I think sets us apart is we are transparent,
Yeah.
because at the end of the day, yes, we love to celebrate the good stuff and the baby pictures and the happy
Yep.
transfer days and
Yep.
all of that. But we call this a journey for a reason.
Absolutely. Yep.
And preparing everyone for, just what the process looks like as a whole, but also, just the fact that we're setting them up for this
Yeah.
is what it can be. And then of course, once you're matched, you're with your coordinator who's going to guide you through
Sure.
that process. And so just
Yep.
having that is so important. Cause I mean, again, like how it, along those lines, I feel like, like you said, we're not just informative of
Right.
like, here's what meds are, here's, just check these boxes, I guess.
Sure. Yep.
But we do want to talk about just the overarching,
Yeah.
process of that.
Yep.
So, what would you say is maybe kind of a takeaway, I guess, that like when you are educating
Yeah.
a surrogate, what's kind of that experience that
Yeah.
you would want them to take away from just going through our education and matching
Yeah.
process?
For them to feel like they trust us. I want them to feel
Yeah.
like I wasn't just blowing smoke up their skirt, so to speak. I want them to really feel like trust us and they got to know who we were as an agency. So I really want them to come away with that. I want them to come away feeling really educated. I want them to get off and be like, wow, that was a lot of information. Thank you. I got all
Mm-hmm.
my questions answered. I don't have any more questions. I want them to feel like that. But then, like you said, I want them to feel like I'm being honest. And we go over that compensation worksheet with them, and it talks about things like the life insurance policy and the loss of organ rider for a hysterectomy and things like that. And so, when I'm going over those kind of things with them, I always just say, this isn't to scare you. Obviously, this is because we're here to
Sure.
take good care of you. But so much of surrogacy, I think, is still talking through worst case scenarios,
Yeah.
and be that a failed transfer or be that, whatever, a lost organ or whatever it is. But I think being honest and talking about all of those worst case scenarios, we're gonna hope for all the best case scenarios, but we're also gonna plan for worst case scenarios, because when we get there, it doesn't feel like as much of an emergency. We knew a failed transfer was a possibility. Here's what our next steps
Mm-hmm.
look like. I'm so sorry this happened, but we're gonna take these next steps, and it doesn't feel like as much of an emergency, or you needed a C-section and I know you weren't preparing on that, and that feels disappointing,
Right.
but this isn't an emergency because we've talked about it before, and your husband's going to be the one with you in the OR because we already decided that. And so I think kind of talking through all of the possibilities.
Sure.
Being,
Those details, and
yeah,
they seem small, but
right.
when they do come up, they are important. And
Yeah,
it's so great that we've, you've had those conversations and everyone
yes.
is prepared. And like you
Yes.
said, it doesn't feel like a, you know, knee jerk, like, oh gosh, like
Yes.
everything,
Not even
everyone.
thought about this. Yes. And I want to
Yes.
be in the room for the C-section, but you want your husband, and we've never had this conversation. And we had this conversation a long time ago, and we probably already
Yeah.
put it into your legal contract. And so it's not an
Right.
emergency. We're going to move to plan B. So yeah, I want to.
Right, right. And just having those open and honest conversations, even if some of those things are, like you said, worst case scenario, and the possibility of them happening is so small. It's such a small
Absolutely.
percentage.
Absolutely. They're
But
not to
it's
scare
good.
you. Yeah.
Yes. It's
It's
not to
really
scare you.
hopefully to make you peaceful that we have already made
Hmm.
plans, all the different possibilities. So
Yeah, for sure, for sure. What advice would you want to give to like a first time woman who is thinking about becoming a
yeah.
gestational carrier?
hmm Um, Going independent without an agency, being a surrogate without an agency,
Uh-huh.
is not going to benefit you really in any way.
Yeah.
Some people choose to do that, and obviously that's everyone's choice if they decide they want to work with an agency or want to work without an agency. But from all of my years in the business and from knowing all of the stories that I've learned over all of these years,
Sure.
these kind of horror stories that you read about in surrogacy, where, this, all of the horror stories that you read. Um,
Sure, sure. The ones that we
so
see in People magazine and the
yes,
ones that actually
exactly.
make headlines. And
Yes,
yes, exactly.
exactly. I don't think they have ever used a reputable agency. I don't. I think it was skips stepped. It was legal skip stepped. It was just so many skips step that were important. And I
Yeah.
don't think
Cut
I've seen,
corners.
yes, cut corners, people not being educated properly. And
Yeah.
so I literally, every time I read those stories, that's my first thought was, who was protecting you? Who was
Mm,
protecting you? Who was advocating for you? And usually it was no one. And
yeah.
so I can't stress that enough to people, is that you need an advocate. Even if you've done all the research in the whole world, you still need an advocate, for someone to speak up for you, or someone to make sure that all of those steps have been taken care of. And so I think that we just do such an amazing job at that. I always tell the girls, I mean, they're women, we're all women, but I always tell them, you are going to have someone holding your hand as much or as little as you want, but the whole way. I will be there, and from your interview. Actually, Barrett will be with you first and educating you and answering your questions. And then it will be me, and then it will be your coordinator. And we have all been surrogates. So you're going to have a
Right.
proven surrogate right next to you, answering your questions, reminding you of things, educating you, guiding you the whole time. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I want him to know that you need an advocate, that you, yeah, just making sure skips aren't stepped, even when that seems easier to skip a step. And the agency is saying, whatever, that we're not skipping steps, that you have a good attorney representing you, that it's really,
Mm-hmm.
really important that you are picking your own attorney. We want your attorney to be your attorney advocating for you. We don't want your attorney to actually work for us. And so at the end of the day, they really have our best interest at heart or whatever. No, your attorney is your
Sure.
attorney, and you picked him or her because they are your advocate. Um,
Well, I think going off of, exactly what you said, an independent journey, of course, everyone gets to decide how they want to go about their journey, but an independent journey, like you said, there isn't a benefit to
right.
a surrogate going through something like that because she doesn't have an advocate.
Right.
But then, to your point, there are so many agencies out there, and not all agencies are reputable. And it
It's true.
matters. It
It's
really
just
matters.
true. It's just true. And just the questions that you want to ask agencies as a surrogate, I talked to surrogates who had been with other agencies where the agency, sent their profile out, and then they brought the surrogate, the intended parents, and said, here's your intended parents. And they said, well, I was hoping to work with domestic intended parents. And the agency was like, well, they're already excited to work with you. So we set up a match meeting for Wednesday, or, just things like that. And
Yeah.
so, and the surrogate was left feeling like maybe her voice wasn't important, or ended up saying yes when she really didn't want to say yes, but she felt pressured, things like that. And so I just want the surrogates to know that your voice does matter. It is important. With our agency, you are going to pick your intended parents. Your voice does matter. If you don't want a COVID vaccine, that is great. We're not going to pressure you to get a COVID vaccine. If you want,
Right. We're
your
going to
voice.
find intended parents that are like-minded in
Exactly. Exactly.
vaccines, termination.
Yeah,
It's a personalized process.
absolutely. And we're not going to try to convince you to work with one certain set of intended parents ever. It's up to you. And we
Mm-hmm.
want you to have the journey that you want to have. And so, that's what I was.
Yeah, all the way around. All the way
Yep.
around.
Well,
Yeah,
and the
for
same for intended
sure.
parents. Absolutely. We're not going to try to convince them to work with this one surrogate, either, if they don't feel like she's the right fit. So we're really in the business of finding the right fit, because when everybody agrees on all the things and we find the right fit, it is going to make the next 18 months of everybody's life that much easier and that much better.
Yes.
Yeah. When
No, for sure. For sure. So again, your kind of journey in just the world of third party reproduction kind of
Yeah.
started, back in
Yeah.
2012.
Yeah.
What would you say is, just what significant changes have you noticed just over the
So
landscape of
many.
time?
And then not so few, but it just, back then, just simple things. Again, PGS testing wasn't a thing.
Yeah. Which, for those who don't know, PGS testing is whenever you're testing an embryo for any genetic abnormalities,
Yeah.
and then you can also
Yeah.
find out the gender, which is fun.
Yeah, absolutely. So that wasn't a thing yet. And so fresh embryo transfers were the thing back then. That was what was done
Yeah.
most normally. And so for that first embryo transfer of mine, a day 5 transfer was kind of seen as better. There were lots of embryos. And then on day 3, they would look at them. And if everybody still looked good, they would let them keep growing to day 5, or they might freeze some on day. Anyway, you didn't even know what day your transfer was going to be on. So
It was
like
the Wild West.
we thought it was going to be day 5 because all the embryos were looking good. And then day 3, I get a phone call early in the morning, and it was the, embryologist. And she was like, these embryos aren't doing as well as we hope. You need to be here, by 10 o'clock for embryo transfer. And so it's so wild to think back on.
Yes.
Yeah. And so it really was like getting childcare and getting in the car and rushing up to, it was Austin at the time. But so things like that have changed a lot, obviously, just
Yeah.
technology has changed, and all of that. That's changed a lot. Double embryo transfers used to be the norm. I transferred 2 and had 2 babies. But that used to be the norm. They weren't tested. And so who knew if they were going to stick, but just chances were lower because those embryos could have had genetic abnormalities that now we would know about, and we wouldn't.
Sure.
So, I bet half of the surrogates in our group at that time were having twins. It happened all the time.
Yeah.
So yeah, so many of us had twins back then, and of course now that has changed. It's just a high risk pregnancy, and so it's really no longer recommended. ASRM doesn't recommend it any longer. Double embryo transfers, just because of the extra risks that a pregnant person takes on when
Right.
you're pregnant with two babies. And then of course embryos can always split, and you can be carrying three babies or four
That
babies.
was
Yes, yes. And
me.
so, I mean, I think in Surrogate Solutions history, those 17 years, I mean, I think we've had, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 sets of triplets. I can remember 2 sets of triplets for sure, because of, things like that used to happen. And obviously then you're getting into really high risk pregnancy territory.
Sure. And I mean, I've been here since 2021 and I can't think of a set of triplets.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So yeah, no. So yeah, I mean, just the technology aspect of,
Right.
just things have changed. I mean, the actual medical,
Yep.
just IVF and the process and all of that. What other changes do you feel like you've seen?
Yeah. I mean, back then, I think surrogacy wasn't known about as much just in the general public. People would be like,
Yeah.
never met a surrogate in person before, some weird,
We were an anomaly.
carnival, yeah, sideshow. But I think it just maybe wasn't known about as much, wasn't talked about as much. I do think
Yeah.
that there has been, as celebrities have used surrogates now also, and then we learn about that. It's just kind of talked about more. I think the general public probably knows a little bit more about surrogacy than they used to, although it still drives me crazy. I'm sure it does you too. But when you read stories and you're like, that's not how it goes,
No, that's not how that's
done
supposed to go.
correctly or whatever. Yeah. But
Yeah.
I do think though that just the general public is a little more aware of surrogacy now, a little better educated about it now. Surrogates do their research now. And to be fair, when
Yeah.
I stepped into surrogacy when I did, I'm so grateful that it was with Gail and with Surrogate Solutions and with a company who was just ethical. Because I would have been one of those girls who was probably taken advantage of. I didn't know what I didn't know. And obviously, Gail
Sure.
educated me and all of that. But if my first stop was an unethical agency at the time, I probably would have gone along with it because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And Facebook was barely a thing then. I mean, a few years old, but now surrogates are really well educated. Surrogates are joining lots of different Facebook groups, and they're talking with a bunch of different agencies, and they're figuring out all the things. And so they're coming to us, I think, a lot better educated than they used to, for better or for worse, because Facebook groups, at times they are fantastic.
And it's a double-edged sword. It's a double-edged sword. It's wonderful to be able to connect with other surrogates and, and like you said, then it's also, you see things and you're like, no, but that's not done right.
Exactly. Exactly. So they're coming to us better educated, but sometimes their agency is shopping and there are just different things that didn't used to go that way.
Well, there weren't that many agencies, and now it feels like there are, I mean, gosh, last I looked, it's like 300 plus.
Hundreds. And so it's just become a bigger business. And I kind of hate that because it's such a personal, intimate thing that I kind of hate to think of it as a business, because it's lives and it's tiny humans and it's, life savings and all of that are poured into it. But it is a bigger business, and we have to adjust to that because it's just the reality. Cost.
Well, and I think that's what makes this education process so important. And again, to your point of when we say reputable agency, that really, I mean, there's some big weight behind that, because you can just decide, oh, well, I'm just going to match you. And now I'm an agency. And,
you can. There's New York has licensure laws, but no other states have licensure laws. So you can decide to match someone and, hang a shingle, so to speak, and you're an agency. And so,
so it's so important to do that research and look at things like, does this agency, seeds ethics approved? Like, is this, just all of those things
how long have they been around? Can I speak with references of other surrogates who have worked with you or other intended parents who have worked with you? All those things.
Yeah, for sure. Oh gosh, for sure.
Yeah.
what would you say is maybe a misconception about
Mhm.
surrogacy
Yeah.
that you would want to just debunk?
Yeah. I think it's more probably on the intended parent end, but and it's something also that you see maybe in media sometimes. But these are women who are just doing it for money. That
Mm-hmm.
maybe surrogates aren't financially stable, and they are doing this to pay bills or to yeah, they're just doing it for the money. That intended parents are hiring them. That surrogates are hired.
Oh, yes.
Yes, they're employing them. To carry their baby, and then they're going to pay them a bunch of money in the end for it. And that's just not how it's done. And even, anti surrogacy people that, you read, online as they're talking about, how unethical surrogacy is. And
Sure.
again, that it's baby selling and that it's taking advantage of vulnerable women and paying the money in the end, or it's trafficking or things like that. And so those are really,
Sure.
yeah, those are the stories that boil my blood. Um,
Yes.
so much, and that it's just we just have to do better at education. We have to do better at education. These women are not doing this to pay the bills. They don't qualify to be surrogates until they're financially stable, to make sure that they are able to take good care of themselves and the intended parent's baby and their own family and all of that. So we can debunk that right away.
Well,
um,
for sure. And I mean, not for anything, but there's like 1,000 other things that are way easier to do if you are needing to like side hustle.
Make some
Like
money. Yeah.
surrogacy is not in that category.
Yeah. I always say break it down hourly, like a comp versus, 9 months of pregnancy. Break it down hourly to the, hour number of hours she's pregnant, and she's making 25 cents an hour.
Yeah,
Um,
right.
yeah, you can definitely find better side hustles for easier money than that. But I think that just our baby selling bothers me. Baby selling is illegal. That is not what surrogacy is. Women
Correct.
are being compensated for their for
Their
being
time, their
their
effort,
effort,
their, yes.
yeah, pain and suffering, all of that. And so they're compensated monthly. You don't pay them $50,000 when the baby is born. That's baby selling. And we don't do that. Yeah. So I think it's just misconceptions surrounding that women are maybe being coerced into doing this for the money, or that
Right,
they're
right. And I mean, and that's that to your point, what you said about being financially stable, if you want to get into the nitty gritty of it, I mean, that's what that is. That's the reason why you have to be financially stable
absolutely.
is
Yep.
because, you're not being coerced. It
It's not
shouldn't.
coercion. Exactly. We know you don't have any money, and yes, absolutely. And we do. So we'll coerce you into doing all of these things. That's all illegal. And we don't take part in that.
We don't
But
do
so I
that.
think it's just that maybe a perception that some people have about surrogates that really hurts my heart, because it couldn't be further from the truth. These women are giving up a year and a half of their lives to help people. And like you said, there are far easier things they could do for the money, but
Yeah,
they're doing
yeah.
it for the right reasons. They're mature women who have had babies before,
Hmm.
who are parenting these babies, who have had healthy, they know how to be pregnant. They know how to, all of that. So I see
Yeah.
how wonderful all of these women are. So I think then when I hear misconceptions people have about surrogates, it kind of lights a fire under my
Oh,
skin.
for sure. For sure. Well, and I
And
think
I was one
it's
of these women, as were you. So then yeah,
right. I'm like, I'm sorry. You think I do what now?
yeah,
Yes.
yeah,
No.
me too.
No.
Yes, exactly,
Yes. Yes.
exactly. So
Well, I think going back to, again, your why of, you experienced what it was to
yeah,
so desperately want
yeah,
to become a parent. And,
absolutely.
I mean, again, to the point where you were like, I'll pay, thinking in your head that you're going to pay for somebody's, you're going to pay for it. Like, I mean, there's a why. You have to have a
Why?
big heart to do this. And yes, of course, the financial aspect of it is a blessing to, our families as well. But,
Absolutely.
you have that why. It's
So much
celebrating
more
those
than that.
moments. It's hearing that
Yeah,
heartbeat and,
yeah,
watching gender reveals
yeah,
and seeing delivery day. I mean,
yeah.
that's
Yeah.
the good stuff.
That's
That's
the
the good
good
stuff right
stuff. I
there.
always say, like, it's a miracle every time. I could see 40 baby pictures, over the course of 6 months. And every baby picture just fills me with tears. Everyone is a dream realized. Everyone
Yes.
is a culmination of years of heartache and pain and so much money spent and people thinking they're never going to see this day. And then they finally do. And it is a miracle. Every heartbeat, every
Yes.
sonogram picture, it's still, after 9 years, it never, ever gets old.
No,
It's a
for sure.
time. Yep.
For sure. As an educator, what would you say, because again, there's so much research out there versus back in the day whenever we had started.
Yeah.
Or I shouldn't say there's so much research. There's so many resources that, now, and so many people telling their story and, just and others' perspectives and things like that. What would you say is maybe the most important thing that a woman who's looking into surrogacy should know before starting a journey?
Yeah. That's a great question. Again, just the importance of not going it alone, the importance
Yeah.
of an advocate, and really a non-biased advocate. Then at the beginning,
Mm-hmm.
you pick up one agency, you pick out an agency because they popped up first on, Google, and you
Yeah.
call them. And of course they're going to tell you everything you want to hear, because that's their job, is to make you be a surrogate for their agency. But I think just finding an advocate, finding a non-biased source, probably, to ask all those questions to tell you what is really important. And we'll tell people that, first thing on a phone call, just, what to look for in agencies, what to ask other agencies. Ultimately, if you decide
Yeah.
not to work with us, we will be sad, because of course we want the opportunity to work with you. But ultimately, if you find a different agency is a better fit for you, then we'll celebrate that too, because that's still another set of intended parents that get to have their baby in their own
Yeah.
home.
And just from one surrogate to another, like, we want you to do well.
Exactly. But just finding the agency that is the best fit for you, but asking the right questions. It's so much more than compensation. And it saddens me when on Facebook pages and stuff, I see girls just looking for the agency that's going to pay them the most money, although the agency doesn't pay them, the intended parents do, but still just looking for the agency where they're going to get the highest comp. Because highest comp does not mean most ethical, and highest comp does
Mm-hmm.
not mean that those intended parents are being treated the way that they need to be treated, and all of the things. And so I think,
And that right there, that doesn't even mean that you as a surrogate are being treated the way that you should be
right,
treated, because you should be able to set, kind of
exactly. So just
that's your voice being heard.
yeah.
That's just one more way that
knowing
your
the
voice needs to be
questions to
heard.
ask, knowing the questions to ask about
Yeah.
escrow and about attorneys and about all of those things that are there to protect you. Again, attorneys and escrow are what comes to mind when I think of the surrogate being protected, but girls don't even know to ask those things. A lot of times I didn't, again, know to ask those things. And so I think really figuring out those questions that you need to ask. And
Those nitty gritties. And that's part of just our education process, and why that education is so important, for sure.
Mhm.
What would you say excites you the most? Just, oh my gosh, my alarm goes off and I just can't wait to just start my
Yeah.
day.
It's so cliche. I mean, baby day is the best day. When babies
Baby
are
day
born,
is the best day.
it's always why we do what we do. It's always why we do what we do is baby day. But I love making matches. I love it when surrogates, have a particular family in mind, that the type of family they'd like to carry for, and then we do that match meeting, and everybody gets off, and I get the text right away, like, that was amazing. Yes, yes, yes. So that
Yeah.
really, really excites me. Is when people find that match, when IPs find that match. They don't know how long it's going to take to find her. And like I said, I feel like on a match meeting, when it's going well, you can just see like hope beginning to rise, and
Mm,
again, like, this might be a reality for us. This might be
yeah.
and so that's always really, really exciting too. And just meeting women and who, decide we're a good fit for them, and decide, I should get a meeting with two girls today that I'm going to share profiles with. And all of a sudden, what they've conceptualized is going to be in front of their face as they see pictures and read
Right.
stories and stuff like that. So,
Oh,
that's really
yeah.
exciting. So yeah.
No, it's the best. It's the best. You're making dreams come true. I mean, who doesn't love being a part of that?
Really, yes, we are. And that's exciting. exciting and painful at times also, because things don't go perfectly and all of the things. It's not always, rainbows and sunshine, but
No, it's not. But we we get to be we get to be a shoulder to lean on through the process, and our knowledge and our experience gets to be the thing that's going to support even whenever things aren't always rainbows and sunshine. And then whenever things are rainbows and sunshine, we are some of the biggest cheerleaders
yeah,
because we
we've got
know what it is
cheerleaders,
to be in that.
yeah, you've got hand holders. Yeah, when it doesn't go the way that you had hoped, you've got hand holders and you've got the best cheerleaders too.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, you know this. It's my favorite question to ask. It's our last question. But and you do truly know this about me because I'm pretty sure almost every meeting ever I am always holding a cup of coffee. And so I always like to ask, what filled your cup today?
Well, literally, I'm drinking some water.
Yeah, you are. Good hydration. Good job.
I've already had my coffee. I'll see all my kiddos. My oldest is home from college, so I've got
Yeah.
all four of my kiddos under my roof, and so that
Oh, your nest. Mama's nest is filled.
the nest is full. Seeing them all in the morning is happy. They were hoping for a snow day that they did not get. Yeah,
Mm.
having all four of my babies under my nest fills my roof for sure. So. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. I love that. Well, Meg, I really I'm so excited that we just I love talking to you. I'm so grateful for your wealth of knowledge. I have learned so much from you and just, in my time being here, but I love the fact that you are here to educate, guide, support. I mean, truly, you have such a wealth of knowledge just from experience, from being in the industry for as long as you have. And, I know you're just constantly learning and, you just have such a passion for helping in this way. And I am just so grateful that I get to work with you. And I am so, I just think it's so fantastic that we have so many people that get to meet you. And it's just thrilling. It's thrilling. And, it's awesome. So thank you
Well,
for
thank
all that you
you.
do.
Thank you for the kind words. I love being your coworker, and we are the luckiest to do what we do. So.
We are. Yes. Well, yeah. So for you girls who are listening, who are thinking about becoming surrogates,
Yes.
get excited to talk to Meg.
I can't wait to talk to you. Let's hop on a Zoom call. Let's get to know each other.
Let's do it. Thank you so much for joining us on this episode of Me, You, and Who. We appreciate your time and hope you enjoyed our discussion today. As we wrap, we would like to remind you of some of the ways that you can stay connected with us and be part of the Me, You, and Who podcast community. Firstly, if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe to our podcast on your favorite platform. Hit that subscribe button so you never miss an episode and can stay up to date with our latest content. But that's not all. We also have an exciting YouTube channel where we share some bonus content, behind the scenes glimpses, and video versions of our episodes. Head over to YouTube and hit that subscribe button there as well. And don't forget to click the notification bell so you'll be the first to know when the new episodes go live. And for more exclusive updates, engaging discussions, and a chance to connect with fellow listeners. Be sure to follow us on our social media accounts. You can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Create a Happy Family. If you're interested in finding out more about creating a happy family, please visit us at www.createahappyfamily.com. Thank you again for being part of the Me, You, and Who community. Your support means the world to us. I can't wait for you to join us next time as we continue to share stories and journeys of creating happy families.